Hi, everyone. Thanks for coming. Super excited to be here. Remember back in 2018 when I came to my first ETH Denver, never imagined being on the main stage. So very happy to be here. And I'm talking about crypto media and what that should look like in the post-FTX world. I'm Camila Russo. I wrote The Infinite Machine. That's the first book on the history of Ethereum, the reason why we're all here. And I'm the founder of The Defiant, an information platform focusing on decentralized finance. It gets hundreds of thousands of views a month, and I hope that includes all of you. So the reason why I'm so passionate about what we're building at The Defiant is because media and quality reporting is crucial, and it's especially important in crypto. And that's because this space is complex. So we need journalists to make difficult concepts digestible to newcomers. I mean, we do want the next billion users to come to the space, and that needs to be through effective communication and journalism. The space, as you know, is fast-paced. So you need consistent, diligent reporting on all the different day-to-day developments that happen to keep everyone updated. And there's this paradox where you have a lot of on-chain transparent data, but it's actually accessible to very few technical people. And then finally, there's a lot of shady stuff going on in this space, unfortunately. You have scams, rug pulls, and so on. And so you need dedicated journalists to report, investigate, and uncover all of the wrongdoing that's happening. We do rely on crypto Twitter and influencers, and that's great. They can be great sources for journalism, but you do need to maintain the standards, the consistency, the diligence of actual professional reporting to deliver all of these values day to day. But trust in media is at an all-time low. And from what we can see from this Thomas Jefferson quote, this is not new. There's always been skepticism and distrust around media. And it's no wonder. There's a flawed business model at the core of the media business. The two main issues that we see is that the audience is not really the end user. The audience is the product. So media businesses are relying on huge amounts of traffic and eyeballs, resorting to clickbait to bring in to pay the bills, basically. And then there's the issue of ownership. Centralized ownership has historically been the case in media, and that brings all sorts of conflict. And so when the advertiser is the final user, the client for media companies, and you take that to the extreme, you get things like this. I mean, we get these kinds of emails all the time at The Defiant, advertisers asking to overtly pay for coverage without disclosing that it's actually an ad. Of course, we would never, ever do that, but there are many media companies and publishers that actually fall for that. And then media companies aren't famous for being hugely profitable businesses, but what they have historically brought to the wealthy and powerful can't really be measured in business metrics. The press brings influence. So you have in crypto things like DCG owning CoinDesk. And in this case, CoinDesk has proven that there's this strict wall between ownership and coverage. In the end, CoinDesk did break the FTX story, uncovering the flaws in its balance sheet, and that brought down, in turn, DCG's portfolio company, Genesis. And then you have the example of SBF secretly financing the block, which was disclosed after, recently. And again, the block has proven that their coverage doesn't appear to be biased, but we have to trust that that will continue to be the case when ownership and financing is this centralized and opaque. So we believe that we can use crypto to improve media and to improve this flawed business model. On the one hand, we should use crypto for what it's best, to bring this transparent digital ledger showing where the money is flowing. So financing for media can become more transparent, showing where investments, sponsorships, subscriptions are coming from by bringing all of this on-chain. And I think what's most exciting and most important, at least to me, is this transition to making the audience not the product, but the actual owners of media. And tokens can facilitate this, and what this would do is really align incentives of the end user, the audience, and the content producers. In the past couple of years, there's been a lot of experimentation with Web3 native media. Some of the main kind of buckets that we can group these experiments in are NFT and token-gated memberships, which function sort of like a subscription kind of model. There's content that's actually minted as NFTs with GM News is a great example. And then there's DAO-based content production and or vetting. And Decrypt media with PubDAO is a great example of this. They have this DAO system where token holders can vote on educational content, and there's this whole organization of outside publishers publishing to PubDAO. So, lots of experimentation in Web3 native media. I think these are great examples to learn from and to build on. I think that in addition to transparent funding and making the audience the owner, which is really at the core of what Web3 media should be, there should be these other features to take into consideration when building Web3 native media. I think it's really important to make sure that content remains at the core. I mean, we're doing content, we're building media. And what happens in a lot of Web3 native and crypto media companies is that tech starts to become the main event. So we start building a lot of complicated DAO structures, or the token introduces a bunch of friction, or the NFT also adds this barrier between the audience and media. So tech needs to be a tool to produce better content and to align incentives with the audience, but it shouldn't be the main thing that Web3 media is bringing to the table. The content should always be at the core. Then, related to that is how DAOs can improve and complement news gathering and content production. A lot of, I think, the issues with Web3 media and maybe why it's really kind of failed to take off is that when you lower the barrier of entry and you decentralize news coverage, yeah, you democratize content production, but at the end, content quality also starts to come down. So I think DAOs can be there to complement fact-checking, to add an opinion on what should be covered, but there always should be a centralized professional editorial body to make sure that content quality is always maintained. And then finally, something that I'm really excited about seeing is how we can bring back investigative journalism. Because of this flawed media model where traffic and eyeballs is what's maximized for, investigative journalism has been folding and failing in a lot of the major news organizations. So I think if we bring crowd-funded, token-based models with crypto, we can view investigative journalism as a public good and really bring back this essential element to news gathering. So these are all the things that we're excited about at the Defiant. Stay tuned to what we're building, and really invite all of you to build this together with us, because the idea is that the future of Web3 media will be a lot more democratized and really based on its audience as owners and also contributors. So thank you so much, and hope you're as excited as the future of media and disrupting this flawed model as I am. Yay.